I now hand the conference over to Mr. Prateek Mandhana from Nomura Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, all. On behalf of Nomura Securities, we would like to welcome all to Thyrocare Technologies Limited 3Q FY21 earnings call. Today, from the Thyrocare management team, we have with us Dr. A. Velumani, Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Arindam Haldar, CEO, Mr. A. Sundararaju, CFO and Executive Director, Mr. Ramji Dorai, Company Secretary, Mr. Sachin Salvi, Vice President Finance, and Dr. Caesar Sen Gupta, Vice President Operations. So now, without any further delay, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Sachin Salvi to give an update on the financials for Thyrocare. Over to you, Mr. Salvi.
Thank you, Prateek, and good evening. Thank you everyone for joining our post-result conference call for quarter ended 31st December 2020. I'll briefly update you about the key highlights of quarter 3 financial performance. First, I'll start with revenue from operations. Our revenue from operations for the current quarter on a standalone basis have increased by about 35% YOY. Our consolidated quarterly revenue for the current quarter has increased by about 31% YOY. Our Q3 pathology revenue of 132.17 crore consists of 27.34 crore of COVID RT-PCR revenue. Our pathology revenue, excluding COVID RT-PCR for the current quarter, has grown by about 7% in Q3. This despite of the lean period on account of festive season, which we generally evidence in every year. We have seen very healthy revival in preventive care business too in the current quarter. Our business in pathology segment as well as radiology segment also has revived well in the current quarter as compared to quarter 2. Our Q3 radiology revenue is at 6.16 crore. Again, as I said, we have revived very good in terms of revival in the current quarter as far as the radiology segment is concerned. Our radiology revenue has revived to the extent of 78% when I'm comparing Q3 numbers of the last financial year. As far as the EBITDA margin is concerned, our standalone EBITDA margin on an adjusted basis, normalized for the non-operating expenses, stands at 37%. Our consolidated EBITDA margin stands at 36%, again adjusted and normalized for the non-operating expenses. Our standalone EBITDA margin of 49.16 crore has grown by about 15% YOY. Similarly, consolidated EBITDA margin have grown by about 13% YOY. We have seen increase in the employees benefit expenses. When I am comparing it as a percentage of the top line, it has increased by about 4% on a sequential quarter basis. This is on account of additional field marketing resources which we have deployed in the current quarter. Our COVID RT-PCR revenue has actually contracted by about 40%, though the volume has increased by 6%. Mainly on account of the stringent prices controls which have been implemented by most of the state governments. In terms of volumes, we have processed in the current quarter about 4.7 million samples. Same quarter last year we have processed about 4.5 million. We have performed 4,691 scans under our radiology division, that is under Nuclear Healthcare Limited. Same period last year we have processed about 5,772 scans. We have done about 2,92,321 COVID RT-PCR tests in Q3 alone, and we have done about 1.61 lakhs COVID antibody tests in the current quarter. With this brief highlights, I'll pass it on to my CEO, Mr. Arindam Haldar, for business updates to the investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin, and good evening to everyone on the call, and thank you for joining us today. We are past year 2020, and with the early signals that are coming in, I do hope this new year brings in happier news, health and prosperity for all of you. We are thankful that India did not see another peak after the festive season as was widely proclaimed, and maybe it's our inherent immunity, or maybe it's the low mean age of the country. Case counts are at an all-time low. Recovery rate is now higher than the new case count every day, and mortality rate hasn't even crossed 1.5%, far lower than many other diseases prevailing in the country. In between, Thyrocare has completed another successful quarter, sustaining an above par revenue growth, which you heard of 35% for standalone pathology business and 31% at consolidated level. And our standalone EBITDA stands at 37% for PATH and at a consolidated at 36%. You may recollect that our PATH business grew by 38% year on year in quarter 2 of FY21. And while the growth percentage has dipped slightly by 3 percentage points, I'm happy to announce that our non-COVID business, which is sans all COVID and COVID-related tests, have come back to last year's level, which was in last quarter at around 80% against the same quarter. In fact, our COVID and COVID-related test consolidated revenue has dipped by 47% in sequential quarter, which is quarter 3 by quarter 2, whereas our non-COVID business has demonstrated a significant and robust 17% growth over the trailing quarter. This augurs well for our future periods. Our COVID RT-PCR revenues have come down significantly. So despite our RT-PCR volume going up by 6%, our revenue realized fell by 43% in sequential quarter, thanks to the drastic price controls that we all know about. This had an adverse effect on our cost of material consumed as a percentage of revenue, which further impacted our EBITDA. And our standalone EBITDA grew by 15% and our consolidated EBITDA grew by 13% against the same period last year. Let me now give you some more color on some significant business updates. First, let me talk about the preventive care business. Arogyam is the leading brand of preventive care packages and profile in the country, and this was severely impacted during peak pandemic. We have seen a significant revival, and in quarter 3, Arogyam has contributed to 46% of our non-COVID business. In post-COVID normal, we believe that people's attitude towards assessing self-immunity and doing frequent preventive checkups will increase, and we are very well poised as a company to cater to that need at an affordable cost. Talking about processing labs, as a company we used to have one large centralized processing lab at Navi Mumbai. Our strategy, as spelled out by our chairman in last quarter, was to have 3 zonal processing labs in north, south and east of India. I'm happy to announce that our zonal processing lab at Delhi NCR has commenced operation. Our south zonal lab at Bangalore is expected to commission in quarter 4, and Kolkata zonal processing lab in east in quarter 1 of next fiscal. Apart from the zonal labs, we are also increasing regional processing lab span. We are ready to commence operation at Lucknow and Kochi in quarter 4. We are also in the process of identifying few other cities which has volume potentials for setting up more regional processing laboratories. Now talking about sales and marketing structure, in the last quarter we initiated putting in place field sales executives and managers across the country. This was again a first for Thyrocare, as we never had field-based marketing executives. We have with us today more than 120 member team who have already started visiting clients, and we are constantly adding to that strength. We have made some early progress over the last 40 days, where we could add more than 50 Thyrocare service providers. That's the name we give to our franchisee collection centers, which is 10% of our base, and we have an aggressive plan to double our presence in this segment over this calendar year. As you know, typically collection centers takes about 9 to 12 months to stabilize. So I believe this aggression in improving our presence through collection center will bear us results by end of 2021 and in early part of calendar 2022. On the radiology business, after lockdown, most of our PET CT centers have become fully functional and seeing walk-ins. Revenues have increased by 30% in sequential quarter, while we are yet to go back to last year's level. However, we are seeing strong recovery and hopeful of improving further in current quarter. In summary, as we look forward, I believe that with enhanced focus on health and health infrastructure in the country, as was very well elaborated by our Honorable Finance Minister, private healthcare and specifically diagnostic industry will see positive uptrend going forward. The salience of COVID tests to total may come down but not go away, and the rest of the business, especially preventive segment, will see significant growth. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to Sachin to take the Q&A session forward.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. We will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Sriram Rathi from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. So firstly, one thing is that, if I just look at the revenue excluding COVID and antibody tests, so that has grown around 1%, but there has been a volume drop of around 5% and realization growth of around 7%. So this realization growth, 232 rupees per sample, this seems to be very high in the several quarters in the past. So is it sustainable or anything in particular has led to this?
Hi Sriram, can you just repeat the question once more? There was a little bit of disturbance and we couldn't hear you properly.
Okay, sure, sir. So basically, I was just asking that the realization in this quarter seems to be very high. If I exclude the COVID and antibody, both the tests, it comes to around 232 rupees per sample, which is like, I think, the highest in the past 10-12 quarters. So anything specific to that, or how should I look at this number going forward?
Sure. So as I told you, our preventive business has been going ahead, and our realization in our preventive packages is higher than standalone tests. I do believe that there will be an uptrend towards people in India taking more and more preventive packages, and we are quite confident about sustaining this kind of revenue in future.
Okay, and we have not taken any price increase as such, right, sir?
No, we have not taken any price increase.
Okay, sure. And so just on the second, which you alluded in the opening remarks about the collection centers that you have started and more people you have taken. So just more, if you can throw more light on that, what kind of collection centers? Will it be in the Thyrocare's name only, or it will be like outsourced to some third party? How this will take off?
So these are what we call Thyrocare service provider. These are branded collection centers. These are franchisee operated, and these are branded exclusive centers for Thyrocare, who will be doing collections alone, which will go to the nearest processing lab, and for higher end tests, it will come to the zonal or the centralized processing labs.
Okay. So, is it fair to assume that this could be a move towards going towards B2C also, in addition to what we have been doing?
Not necessarily. We do have about 500, close to 500 collection centers which have been operating, and that's where I talked about the 10% increase, having 50 new codes coming in. Here, our main focus is still working with the franchisee partner. So it is the franchisee partners who are still the face to our customer. We still remain the kitchen. So our front end is the franchisee partners. Our accessibility in the market will increase via this franchise.
Okay, got it. And just one question to Sachin. This personal cost which has increased in this quarter, is this the run rate that we should take going forward?
No, as Sir has said in his opening remarks, we already have about 120-150 people working on the field, and the team is set up. Now, this will not increase in that proportion unless we are seeing a significant increase in the revenue, or unless we require new people to hire.
Yeah. So basically, this quarter of 17 crores revenue, expense, that is something that is a normal rate now that
Yes,
I should.
yes. That would be something normal thing.
Sure. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishabh Share Dalal from Praveen Ratilal Share and Stock Brokers Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to understand, I mean, presently our COVID RT-PCR revenue is 27 crores in the quarter, which accounts to almost 20.
Sorry, you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know that, the current RT-PCR revenue is 27 crores, which roughly accounts for 20% of the total revenue. So what kind of a product mix do you see going forward, let's say 2 or 3 quarters down the line? I mean, could it still account for at least 5 to 10% of our top line?
Well, I can talk about the past because I wish there was someone who can exactly predict which direction COVID will go. Last quarter, all our COVID and COVID-related tests put together, which is your antigen, antibody, COVID, D-dimer, IL-6, all put together had 44% salience. This quarter, it has 24% salience, out of which 20, as you rightly said, is RT-PCR. Now, frankly, I don't think it will become zero. However, whether it will be 5% or 10% or 15%, frankly, it will be extremely difficult for us to comment on the same. So won't be able to give you an exact number.
Okay. And just wanted to understand that our COVID revenue does not include the antibody tests, right? The antibody tests are included in our actual revenue only. Is my understanding correct?
So in the quarter about, so 27 crore if you're talking about, that is only COVID RT-PCR. Antibody will be another 4 odd crore.
And antibody will keep coming even after COVID has subsided?
It can even go up as well, because after you take the second dose of vaccine, the only way to know whether you have developed antibody is to do an antibody test. So directionally, the antibody test can go up as well post-April.
Right. Thanks a lot. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chandramouli Muthiah from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my questions. First question is back to the point that was made earlier around preventive testing and Aarogyam. Maybe there's going to be a shift to that post-COVID. So I think there has been similar commentary coming out from some of your peers as well. So just trying to understand, Aarogyam, I think historically has been close to 50% of company revenue. So is there a plan to maybe grow that faster now that there could be this sort of shift towards such packages?
Aarogyam is clearly a focus area, Chandramouli, and even as we speak, even in the current month, there is a specific focus that we have in one of the Aarogyam profile, and going forward we'll be keeping that focus on. So definitely there will be a broader market trend towards preventive, and being the market leader in this space, we will play from that strength as well.
Got it. And just to follow up to that, so I think looks like there was an earlier question as well around value growth. So historically, I think in the industry we've seen most of the growth being driven by volumes, but looks like now there might be some, I don't know how long this period would be, but there might be some value growth coming through potentially because of this shift. So just trying to understand what is your thinking around, the pieces that drive growth going forward between sort of value and volume?
Historically, our strength has always been through volume growth, and we always have believed in that if you can grow volumes, that gives you sufficient leverage for getting better financials, better profit, and hence lower cost. So overall, while there is no specific direction to do any price falls, so we'll still go by volumes. However, the mix will give us better value. More and more preventive tests that we do, it will give better value. If you look at our client mix, our collection centers give higher revenue per day than the other clients, the small labs which gives us samples. So with our more and more franchisee center coming in, if I can double my franchisee business, my average realization there also will go up. I'm also going to some of the high value clients. With the field team coming in, I'm also targeting some of the hospitals and high-end medical clients. With that coming in, there will be a further fill-up in some of the better and higher price tests as well. So overall, yes, there will be a growth which will be a mix between focus on preventive tests, higher Thyrocare service providers, and some high-value clients coming in.
Got it. That's helpful. Second question is on the COVID testing. So just specifically on RT-PCR. So I think if we back the numbers out, maybe last quarter the realization was closer to 1,700 for RT-PCR. This quarter it seems slightly less than 1,000 rupees. So where are we tracking at now? And maybe just related to that, how much do we draw a line in the sand saying that below a certain price it's not viable for us to do the RT-PCR tests anymore?
See, it's like this, while the prices have crashed, and yes, between the quarter 3 and quarter 2, the price crashed even faster probably than the cost came in. But we have been able to rationalize our cost further. So of course, the realization of RT-PCR is going down much more on a day-to-day basis, and that is a trend that is going to be there. We are conscious of our margin standards, so obviously will not take any foolish decisions, but we are very clear that if we can get sufficient volumes, we'll be able to price it much better than any of our competitors.
Got it. And just final follow-up to that. So I think the previous quarter we had given that I think the month of September, the non-COVID business was back to about 93% of normalized levels. So maybe just in the month of December, just first to get an understanding of the exit run rates, is there a similar number that we're able to provide? Maybe whether it's like 106% of previous year or something like that?
So Sachin, how much would the December be? About 105?
About 105%. So we are already revived. In fact, we are seeing some growth.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Agarwal from InCred Research. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. So I had a couple of questions. Broadly, they've been answered in some manner, but I still want to clarify. So when I'm looking
sorry
at the
to interrupt, Rahul. Your voice is a little bit fluctuating.
Okay, is it better?
A little better, but not very audible.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So what I was asking was, firstly, on the non-COVID side, when I'm looking at the volume number and I'm excluding the RT-PCR and antibody here, my sense is it's still not recovered 100%, right? It's about 92% YOY. Broadly, wanted to understand, is the air and road travel restrictions still impacting the B2B volumes? And, when do you really go back to your, fiscal 20 sample volumes of 19.2 million is what you did in March 20 year? Would you go back to that level in 22, or, how do you think about the non-COVID recovery? And I'm excluding antibody here.
Sure. So, if you, exclude the antibody, RT-PCR, all of that, our volume in the last quarter had almost come back to the last year's level, and in fact, revenue crossed last year's level. December has been better than the overall quarter, and Jan has been better than December. So by that logic, I don't see any reason why by exit of this year, the volume shouldn't come back to the last year's level and revenue ahead.
Okay. And secondly, on the, one participant asked on the pricing for COVID, and obviously it's gone down, and the drop is even sharper. But broadly speaking, are you making single-digit EBITDAs on the COVID on current prices, or do you think you're operating at break-even level? So you mentioned in your presentation, I think that the price drop has been significant, but you have managed to handle that through stringent controls on negotiating reagent costs and stuff like that. So just want to understand a bit of that.
Yes, we are making margin in RT-PCR test, and we have negotiated our cost down further, and we still make a comfortable margin in RT-PCR.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. One small question for Sachin was, what's the capex done in 9 months? If you could just help me with that.
The capex figure is around some 12 to 15 crores. I'll give you the exact number in some time. Let me check. But it is about 12 to 15 crores.
Okay, and the full year target? I'm asking this purely because we are spending on zonal and regional labs. That's why I'm asking.
As far as the capex for the full year is concerned, it would be in the same level because, as I said, most of the capital expenditure for Bangalore processing laboratory as well as for Kochi as well as for the other Lucknow laboratory is already incurred and debited to profit and loss account under capital work in progress.
Okay, so this number for fiscal
This number would be almost it would be the similar number as on 31st March 2021 as well.
Okay. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Participants, if you have any questions, please enter star and 1. The next question is from the line of Sayantan Maji from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Anubhav here. Just a couple of questions from my side. One is on just clarity on the collection centers that you mentioned. Which city exactly did you mention that you're planning to start with this 50 centers?
Can you just repeat that question once more, please?
Yeah, sure. I was just asking that which city, when you mentioned about starting with 50 franchisee centers on the collection center side, which city were you talking about?
So this is not a single city. So typically all our regional processing labs that we have, our current focus is having collection centers more around the same so that we can give a quick turnaround time of test over there. So this is a mix between all the regions, but in each of the regions it is more closer to where our regional processing centers are, which are the larger cities.
Okay. And just, so I don't know this split, that's why I'm asking a very basic question. On the preventive test, what would be very rough split between corporate and individual customers? Let's say fiscal 20 when it was a more normal year.
Sorry, we have not understood your question. Can you please repeat?
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please stay on the line.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you may proceed now.
Yeah. So I was asking on the preventive test, when we look at fiscal 20, when you look at the total volume, if you were to just bucket it into two parts, customer into someone who is coming from a corporate contact versus someone who is, let's say, booking a test by his own, what would be that split look like? Like 80-20%, 80% individuals, 20% coming through corporate? What does the split look like?
As far as the preventive care profiles are concerned, mostly we are getting these orders from the individuals. So, and mostly we are doing home collections. So corporate customers, if you are asking, it would be very less. Tentatively, the number would be somewhere in the range of 5 to 10%, not more than that.
Sure. That's helpful. And just last clarity on this. When you look at the profile of the customer, your business over the last 2-3 years, and when you see the traction over preventive tests, which age group do you see the most traction in? Is it like people more than 50 years old are enrolling for more preventive tests, or is it more younger generation enrolling for it? Which age group are you seeing the more traction in?
So mostly the traction is coming from cities. That is number one, tier 1 cities. Of late, tier 2 cities also we are seeing some good volume. As far as age group is concerned, mostly it is from the middle age group, not from the old age group. 35 to 55 years of age, you can say.
Okay, sure. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Shroff from QRC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. Just going back to this 50 franchisee collection centers that we are adding, I just wanted to understand, so does this mean that we are adding a further layer between us and our end franchisee? Another layer between?
No. These are franchisee collection centers, and there is no additional layer. We already have 500 of them. It is the same The franchisees are our direct contact, and patients come to the franchisee. So there is no other layer.
So this addition of 50 is sort of more of the same.
Yes,
That's right.
That's where I said it has gone up by 10% addition in the last 40 days.
Okay, and the reason to do this is you think that you can provide a better local service in terms of turnaround times, etc.
It is to further the overall hub and spoke model, because if you give better accessibility to the patient through a branded center, so the patient can walk into the nearest center and get access to the overall ThyroCare menu. We have a logistics setup, very robust, which goes to every nook and corner of the country, which picks up the sample and brings it to the processing lab. And since all our centers are connected online, the reports are available as soon as the samples are processed in the lab. So this gives better accessibility, and it also helps sweat my machines better at the lab, because all those samples drain into our processing labs.
Okay, so basically between the client and the company, there is just this one sort of franchisee or agent who's doing the collection, and then maybe the logistic part of it. Is that fair?
Yeah, so we have our logistics system which takes it up, and the collection centers is where our patients go, and they give their sample there.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And the second question was on nuclear, a little bit longer term. Sort of where do you see, I guess once, let's say COVID is over, another 3, 6, 9 months, but where do you see that business sort of stabilizing and coming to break even and then better? What's the sort of plan there for the next 12, 18 months?
So as far as nuclear business is concerned, as we have said in the opening commentary, the business has already started coming in. Almost 78% of our business has already revived. Some of the centers like Delhi, Mumbai and Hyderabad are already seeing surge of up to 30%, 35% in terms of the number of scans which we report. In terms of break-even, we are not incurring any cash losses. At least in this current quarter, we have not incurred any cash losses. As far as our radiology business, that is Nuclear Healthcare Limited, is concerned. That is what we have also disclosed in our presentation. So break-even level already attained as far as nuclear is concerned, and this we think this will continue in the near future too.
Okay, so this is sustainable and should, if anything, grow from here.
Yes. So pre-COVID period, if you see, almost for about 8 quarters, we have seen positive cash flows. Just because of the COVID break, it went into cash losses, and the moment the business revived, again we are seeing cash positive. And this despite 3 of our centers not functional, and one of our machinery already shifted from a particular location to a new location. So 4 of our machines are not active and running as of now, and still this is the progress.
Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can experience disturbance from the management line, so I'm just going to disconnect and reconnect the management line. Please be on hold. We have the line for the speakers connected now, so you may proceed. We have the next question from the line of Varun Goenka from Nippon. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. My operational questions have been answered. Just 3 things. On our imaging business, have we reconsidered what we were trying to do a year back, trying to sell it to our promoter, Dr. Velu, or get it off ThyroCare? Have we rethought on that side?
So You're talking about Nuclear Healthcare Limited, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So as on 31st March 2019, 31st March 2020, we have done an impairment assessment. That is what we have reported in our numbers 31st March 2020. Thereafter, we have not assessed actually the progress. We will be doing that again as on 31st March 2021.
But more strategically, what are your thoughts as to having that business within Thailand or otherwise?
So as I have said in the earlier answer, we are seeing a good revival as far as nuclear business is concerned. So the call as to what is to be done with nuclear business will be decided in our board meeting for the quarter ended 31st March 2021.
Sure. Fair enough. Second, our Leggy initiative, which was to make the pricing transparent between us and the customer and the franchise in the middle, any update on that to how is it, or have we taken another route, or how's that working out?
Sure, Varun. So the Leggy network is growing. So that vertical has a focus with a growth leader leading that vertical. So that vertical is growing on its own. And we believe that that will also sustain as a separate significant revenue stream as the franchisee. So as far as the franchisee collection center is concerned, there our focus will be more on direct patient walk-in, referred by doctor and home collection. And the smaller labs we will be servicing more through the Leggy network. And we have individual growth leaders, and they are focusing on each of the revenue streams.
Okay, so any data as to what percentage of our smaller labs or something have adopted it, or?
We don't have a segment-wise revenue of the Leggy turnover separately.
No problem. Just a final data point. What percentage of a sample is transported via air?
What percentage? Can we give this number? What percentage of our sample will be by air?
It is very difficult to give this number actually, but most of the samples which are processed at CPL and coming from state other than Maharashtra are coming through air. Exact percentage is very difficult for me as of now to give you.
No problem. Fine. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll get back in the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bharat from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity and good evening, everyone. So just wanted to understand on MR part. So since we are now employing and deploying the field force, so just wanted to understand how what will be their exact KRA, whether they will be approaching the doctors or their role will be to enroll more smaller laboratories and get them associated with therapy. So what will be the exact job?
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, you are asking about what will be the KRAs of the field staff. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so the objective of the field staff as they're going around is to get more of our branded collection centers and high-value clients. So that's where the primary focus will be.
When we refer to premium clients, what we are referring to exactly? Is it like more collection centers or what exactly these?
Okay, so what I said is that their focus will be on two. One is the branded collection centers or the Thyrocare service providers, which gives exclusive branded space for Thyrocare, as well as high-value clients. And high-value clients could be a high-end medical client, a hospital of that kind. So either a high-value client or Thyrocare service provider, those will be the best procured by the field staff. We will also have the office-based business development team, which is currently continuing, and they still continue to pursue and get us more of the Leggy and the smaller clients.
Okay. So whatever we have employed so far, around 120 MR, so these are the peak numbers, or we
आपण ज्या व्यक्तीसोबत बोलत आहात त्या व्यक्तीने आपला कॉल.
Yeah. So will there be a further increase in our headcount, or this is what we have already, whatever we have now employed, that is only going to be the number?
So it will be in line with the revenue that they generate. India being such a large country, it's very difficult to say that 120 is all that one needs. But of course, we will go as the revenue comes in. Technically, if the revenue keeps growing in as per our vision, yes, the number can also grow. But it will depend on how the revenue comes in. But overall, yes, I mean, if I have to go to every single city of the country, of course, 120 will not be enough.
Right. And sir, if I may ask, what would be the current contribution of 500 collection centers which we already have?
Contribution of that would be about 16%.
Contribution in terms of revenue you are asking, or volume?
I would value terms, revenue terms.
I think it will be somewhere in the range of 30 to 35%.
आपण ज्या व्यक्तीसोबत बोलत आहात
30 to 35%.
Yes.
And so, whatever we get through our own, I would say, business development team or the online, what will be that contribution?
Sorry, I couldn't get your question actually.
From whatever value we are generating from our online or website, as well as from our own BDA team, what will be that contribution to our revenue?
So our B2C component is only 15%, 1/5.
The only why I'm asking is because we said that our contribution from franchises is around 35%. So franchises, don't you consider as B2C?
Franchises are counted under B2B revenue only. You have asked about the B2C contribution. B2C contribution is 15%. And if you are further drilling it down and want to understand the contribution of our website or website booking or our online booking, it would be somewhere in the range.
So Sachin, if I may just come in, just to give you a little more clarity, if I just break it down into just the franchisee revenue per se, the franchisee revenue today is less, it's about 20%, and the direct web booking is less than 5%.
Right. So, sir, actually, that's what I was trying to understand. Now, what happens is when we look at the peers, they actually add these franchisee revenues as B2C revenues. It is not always considered to be B2B.
No, franchisee revenue, we put it as B2B revenue. We don't put franchisee as a B2C revenue. We only count the revenue that we realize from the franchisee, not what franchisee is realizing from the patient. We consider that as B2B revenue.
Right. Okay. I think that's what I was trying to understand. And the last one, on the preventive side, who all market this Aarogyam? So is it even marketed by the smaller third-party laboratories also, or it is only marketed through our own digital interface as well as through our own franchisees?
So as I told you, I mean, Aarogyam is almost 50% of my non-COVID business, and my direct access to my consumer is less than 5%. So obviously, which means that Aarogyam sells through all my channels. My franchisee partners sell it, my other business partners and clients sell it, and of course, a lot of direct client inquiry comes in through websites, which is limited to the percentage that I said. So we get Aarogyam sales through all our revenue streams.
Sure. That's all. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Shroff from QRC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the follow-up. Just wanted to understand from you what is the latest franchisee count and what is the plan on increasing that, please?
Sure. So we had about 500 collection centers. We have got about 50 additional codes which I spoke about, and we have a aggressive plan to take this forward. I have a vision of doubling this. Won't be able to give you an exact time plan for the same, but that's the vision with which the field team is progressing of doubling my count, which we had till about 3 months back.
No, I mean the end franchisee.
Yes, I'm not sure what you mean by end franchisee, please.
The 25,000-30,000 number is what I am referring to.
No. So we are talking about, the branded collection centers, which are exclusive collection points who have Thyrocare brand, and there is a dedicated space, and they only take samples for Thyrocare. We have multiple collection points across the country, which runs multiple, and they have various colors. They could be smaller labs whom we call leggy. There could be other kinds as well. When I say Thyrocare service provider, we only mean the ones which are exclusive branded collection points of Thyrocare.
Hello, Arindam.
And so the plan is to grow the exclusive Thyrocare collection centers and not so much the others. Is that the way to think about it? That's how we are sort of thinking about building the brand and the reach going forward?
Only 1 minute. Only 1 minute. I think Dr. AVM is in.
No, I am not in.
Dr. Valumani, we request you to go ahead with your
Hello.
statement. Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
I was trying to call in between, tell something in between. I couldn't get through. Some of the questions were asked. I have noted down, and I wanted to give a brief response to all of them. The first question was whether PSR, that is per specimen revenue increase, is temporary or sustainable. Yes, the thyroid samples which are having the lowest revenue per sample have come down because of the COVID pressures, logistics pressures. So we have lost low value specimen, and that is one of the reasons why you see a high per specimen revenue, though as our people explained that Arogyam is contributing for the movement of higher side for the revenue per specimen. Second question asked was where it will go, COVID. No one knows where it will go because we did not know we will be here 2 months back, 3 months back. It was a huge pressure. It was all increasing, and then volumes started decreasing. Today we have a situation where rates are also low, volumes are also low. That is why it sounds very pathetic. I am very happy that COVID PCR is collapsing because it is saying that the country is having a better health than what we expected. We don't know whether PCR will continue with this volume, or because the fear is over, people will test more or no, I don't know. Earlier testing was not done for the disease. Earlier tests were not done because there was too much of stigma of getting positive and getting harassed by the administration. A question was asked, is that logistics a problem? Yes, logistics is a big problem. About Delhi, we were totally dependent upon train. Trains had completely come down, and even today we are unable to resume our train-based solutions across the country because trains are not running like what it used to run. So the logistics is the main reason why our non-COVID business has not come back. Then the question was asked on nuclear, what is the dream, what is the plan, why Dr. Velumani did not buy it, will he buy it? Let me honestly admit, I wanted to buy it and run, but if I had bought it, I would have been running that only because that's a very tough thing to run. That's the reason why the board of directors said let Velumani not buy it. But let me give you, nuclear is not a business compared to what we have as a pathology business with 40% EBITDA, low capex, wonderful business. So nuclear business is least likely to give you big profit. I have a reason to believe it would give you some returns equivalent to a bank deposit returns in the long run. Don't count too much from it. We have scaled it down because 3 of the centers went for litigation. Remaining centers in COVID, we felt they are too new, let us not run, and we have closed it. So we now finally are trimming down to 10 centers, and we will operate these 10 centers to make sure that there are no cash losses and there is at least a fixed deposit kind of a return for the investments done.
The next question asks what percentage of air business is coming. Let me tell you, earlier before 2015 it was 100% air business, and then we started putting up laboratories in different metros. Today we have 15 laboratories in 15 metros, so we don't get 80% of the business which was there in air, they are locally processed. So 20% of the business only travel from metros to Mumbai. So that is air contribution is only 20%. And the question asked, you have added 50. Is it a new kind? Is it something significant? Let me tell you, traditionally a franchisee as a concept was introduced by Thyrocare as early as 1996. We are the strongest franchisee-based player in the country. But over a period of time, the loyalty aspect of the franchisees have come down. They felt some of the tests, some local laboratories are giving a better rate, and they started trading different kind of laboratories under them. So now franchisee concept, if we analyze it, the ones who are committed to us as of today are 500. The ones who are not committed to us are almost 5,000. So what we are thinking of adding more committed franchisees and branded franchisees, and will help these committed branded franchisees to grow the business in a different mode than the business which casual franchisees are giving. I think I have noted down a few points because I was muted, and now I am not having a challenge. So if there are some questions, I will explain them and answer them. Thank you, Nomura, for unmuting me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sarafshov, do you have any more questions, or can we proceed?
No, my last point was the answer that I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikas Kasturi from Focus Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My first question is, would you be expanding the test menu?
Yes, very interesting question. For last 25 years, test menu expansion has not happening in the pathology. Very little tests have been added. All those new tests added, they don't have volume. And let me tell you what COVID made a wonder. COVID is the only test which in the first month itself became the most profitable, most volume test because of the COVID disruption. Subsequently, the COVID also has slowly gone down in the chart. Today, COVID test is not as much as Aarogyam test is. Coming specific to your question, we are not introducing any new tests. We are trying to make new kind of packages. We have introduced LCMS, and we have ordered for 10 LCMS machines. We are interested in adding costly tests, making them affordable, and making into package and having better value. To be very honest, there are not many tests available for us to even experiment to increase the menu.
Thank you, sir. My next question was, sir, in today's scenario, what is the competitive intensity like, sir?
It is no less. I think for the last 25 years, I am seeing the competition is growing much faster than the industry. In spite of that, the large players are sustaining some good traction. So if you ask me, post-COVID, the intensity of new laboratories coming in, new people getting in, all these things have increased. In fact, there are plenty of medium-sized laboratories who got an opportunity to do PCR tests, have made 3 times more turnover in a quarter-over-quarter basis, whereas all the organized players are suffering around 30% growth. So if you look at it, there are huge pains in the industry. Equally, there are some opportunities in the industry. What worked before COVID will not work the same way. All have to reorient. Patient walking culture to the center is stopping. Patient demanding for home service is increasing, and a lot of changes happening. So it's very difficult to comment as of today whether competition intensity is 10% more, 20% more, but certainly it is more.
Thank you, sir. And one last question, sir. So going forward, where would your investments be?
Well, there is very little investment needs. That's why we are periodically declaring a dividend. The business is a low capex business. You understand from all listed company balance sheets. So there is a likelihood we will invest on some higher end technologies, but the higher end technologies also could be at the maximum some 20 crores per annum. And for a 500 crore turnover company, 20 crore per annum is not at all anything to be truly worried about or planning about. I see high-end machines in preventive care, in mass spectroscopy, that is MS, it's either ICP-MS or it is LC-MS or it is gas chromatography, GC-MS. All the three are most likely to find a better place in the balance sheet in a competition-driven market, because routine test doing, you are not differentiating. You have to differentiate by doing those tests for which there is no ready-made kits available.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ravi Naredi from Naredi Investments. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Evalumni ji. Sir, how much growth plan are we assuming for next 3 years timeline?
अगर भगवान सामने आके पूछा तो मैं 100% बोल दूंगा, लेकिन इन्वेस्टर सामने आके पूछेगा तो मैं बोल नहीं सकूंगा. Having said that, market is likely to have, industry is likely to have around 20% growth. If it was only 10-12% growth for the last 10 years, next 10 years it will be 20% growth. दिल वाला दुल्हनिया ले जाएंगे. जो कंपनी अच्छा फिलॉसफी बनता है, जो कंपनी अच्छा एक अग्रेशन रखता है, जो कंपनी कम प्राइस रखता है, तो शायद वो कंपनी को ग्रोथ ज़्यादा मिलेंगे. So it's very difficult for me to motivate you in an investor call, because if I don't do it, you will feel that वेलू मैंने बोलता बहुत कुछ दिया नहीं है.
No, I'm not just complaining or anything. In last AGM, you have ensured that there will be a 15 to 20% growth for next 5 years. So just asking in that terms, how is the situation now since 6 months has been passed? That's why I'm asking you.
So if I have said 9 months back or 7 months back, be assured this year will end at least 20+% growth.
Okay.
अभी अगला साल कैसा जाएगा वो देखा जाएगा.
And how much capex plan we are planning for financial year 22?
Yes, Sachin said post-COVID, because of PCR business, we have aggressively invested around 15 crore in this fiscal. I think it should not exceed more than that, because once good growth is there, we need to invest in regional processing laboratories. So I would say at the maximum 12 to 15 crore for next year.
Thank you very much, sir, and salute to you. You are doing very wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Varun Goenka from Nippon. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I had a couple of questions. First, around our turnaround time from the customer collection of sample to a lab to the report. Is there any improvement in that turnaround time, or what is it currently, or how are we benchmarking that versus our peers? Any data or any insight there would be useful.
Arindam want to answer?
Sure. Yeah, Bharat. So if you see the profile of our test, okay, half of the test is preventive. So there the desperation on turnaround time is relatively less. So overall, in the cities where we have regional processing labs, technically the turnaround time will be better because sample will take less time, at least for the basic test to be done over there. So to that extent, for the samples nearby the new regional processing labs, those turnaround time will be slightly better than earlier. So if you look at a quarterly level, we are seeing over the last 3 quarters, if one looks at the overall data, the turnaround time of the pre-analytical turnaround time is reducing.
No, I understand the high-level point, but do we track it in terms of number of hours or number of days?
Yeah. Let me.
Yes, there is if I talk about exact, sorry sir, I'll just give some data point just to thing. So we track it at a pin level. So at a all India level, if I talk about a quarterly progression, the pre-analytical turnaround time has gone down by about 3.3 hours at a all India level, and we track it at every pin level.
By 3.3 hours, but what is the base?
From a 26.84 to a 23.52.
Got it.
We consider turnaround time as pre-analytical turnaround time and analytical turnaround time. That means testing turnaround time. Another is the specimen reaching to the company. Right. For 90% of the specimen, the analytical turnaround time is 3 hours. So once the specimen has come inside the laboratory, within 3 hours, 90% released. Within 4 hours, 99% released. So that is irrespective of whether the specimen comes from which city. The pre-analytical, if you look at this business, always sample is collected in fasting. So sample collection time is 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Always courier moves in the 6 p.m., not in the before that, because courier is supposed to be traveling in the night. So if you analyze it, around 50% of the samples are collected within the city, which is coming to the laboratory on the same day and reported within 4 hours. But the other cities will come only next day morning, so it is 24 hours plus 4 hours.
Right.
And this we are constantly trying to see how to decrease it, but I think we have arrived at the best. But please note, we are not at all copying with our peers because they have a very different business model. They have hundreds of laboratories which are running in the nearby proximity. We are only operating with 15 laboratories and 1 centralized laboratory. So we are not into competition in terms of I am faster. And let me give you a punchline. I am not focusing on faster. I am focusing on better quality.
Right. Thank you, sir. That was very helpful. Just 2 more questions. One, we have a very rich history, almost operating for 20 years now. So what are we doing in terms of technology initiatives to improve our repeat customer rate, provide better analytics to the customer, or how are we using our history of tests? Is there any investments there or initiatives there?
No, actually, your question is right. If we were operating in a conventional model, our 80% of our business comes through our franchisee. So he is the face for our company. So he keeps a database, he persuades them, and he gets the business. Only 20% of the patients who come directly to us, we do have a loyalty program. We do persuade them. They are coming back to us. There are some people who do the test 4 times in a year, and some entire family 4 times in a year. So there is a persuasion, but to be very honest with you, we are not like other players who are totally on B2C and they are fully committed to persuading. Ours is 80% persuaded by our franchises.
Fair enough. Just a continuation of this, we are perceived as price leaders. So are we doing any branding investments or digital marketing or promotions which are non-price related?
In that way, if you look at it, the way in which we got so many times subscribed in our IPO says our brand is a very powerful brand in the eyes of the common man. With Arogyam as a brand where common man can relate without going to the doctor, he can come and avail the service. We are very strong there, and we have also spent substantially even in this lockdown period in some digital marketing. So we are working on it. At the same time, we are not a direct B2C player. So it all is draining through our franchise.
Okay, now.
So we are quite happy at that position.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sujit Paul. Please go from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Good evening, gentlemen. Where do Thyrocare stand currently in prenatal and anti-TB business?
And there are two different businesses. In prenatal business, we were planning to do NIPT. NIPT is a test which is meant for what you call a prenatal, late pregnancy, early pregnancy testing. But the business before it took off, COVID disrupted, and COVID wanted more space, and we did not find justifying to keep the NIPT because we don't know when it will resume. When the COVID had collapsed, no idea what is this COVID is going to do. Living by the end, to see the end of the year itself was a very big dream. Now that COVID has gone mild, we may review and restart NIPT. As of today, NIPT has been closed down. TB business has been constantly growing. We are into TB business for the 3 years, and I must tell you, we have grown in these last 3 years from zero to a substantial 20 crores per annum. And in my opinion, this will grow 15-20% minimum year over year, because government has a very ambitious program of end TB, and we are growing, and I'm happy that I have started, and it's going to help to add to the bottom line as well as the top line.
And are we making profit at operating level?
Oh yes. See, entire pathology business, there is no loss at all in any part of it, because the capex in that business was only 3 crores. Now the revenue is substantial with the 50% EBITDA, so there is absolutely no worry. It's doing well.
Okay. And another thing is that when Thyrocare is getting into branded premium segment of collection centers, is it an harbinger of going forward any kind of specialized acquisition or similar kind of things?
27 years I haven't gone for any inorganic acquisition. Least likely I will be going for one. If all of you give me 30 multiples, 40 multiples, the unlisted company also is demanding more than that. So it is not wisdom for investing too big a money for an inorganic growth. We believe organic growth is much affordable than inorganic growth.
Okay. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you very much. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to Dr. Velumani for closing comments. Before that, Dr. Velumani, we would like to apologize for the earlier. Your line was in the talk mode. It is suspected that it was due to network. We were not able to hear you. Sorry for that. Yes, sir, you may proceed with your closing comments.
Right. Thank you very much, Namura, and thank you all who have participated for the last 65-70 minutes. I think country is safe. Indians are safe. COVID is over. I very confidently tell, because in September we were 1,200 per day deaths. Today we are less than 100 deaths per day. And this is not probably because of COVID what we are currently counting. When the Western world is still struggling, when the Western world is having second wave, third wave, it is very, very pleasing to see that we have gone out of it. Of course, had it been there for longer, I might have made better balance sheet, but I don't think that's any wisdom. and economy has revived. Stock markets have been booming. So with all said and done, the Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has claimed that she has given 130% or 140% more to the healthcare. It's not directly into healthcare, some form of healthcare. A lot of money is invested into vaccinations, which I believe is now probably is not the desperate need for the country, but that is my personal view. Having said that, more money is certainly coming into healthcare from the government. More money is going to come from the investors. More money will come from the common man's pocket, because now he has fear for life. So that means there will be more into healthcare business, more job opportunities, more growth opportunities. I am of that opinion. The financial year 21-22 will have much better growth than what we had in the year 2021. And 2021, it looked like it is booming, but it looks like, as I said, we are likely to declare when the year ends roughly around 20% growth. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in the last week of April when the year ends and we have a call. Thank you, Nomura, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Nomura Financial Advisory and Securities India Limited, we conclude this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.